You can't just manifest a dream. You have to manufacture a dream.
Yeah.
In my previous life, I was an investment banker, and I was working on these billion-dollar transactions. I was probably one of the highest paid people out of university. People, especially nowadays where inflation is very high, it's crazy, just day-to-day life is getting even more and more challenging. People are focused on financial ascension or financial investment. And I've seen people at the wide spectrum of income levels have very poor money management skills and habits, poor health habits, poor mental habits, poor physical habits. And then it made me realize, okay, knowledge and information is very important here, especially when you're coming from the West. You have a perception of Africa in one dimension. And I've been pleasantly surprised at how Kenya has shown me that it's very multidimensional. The approach that we're taking is very unique because we're looking at it from responding to what the problems here are and not just imposing kind of a solution.
Yeah.
So the first and the biggest challenge is really...
Do you have any advice for, let's say, anyone who's getting into the entrepreneurship stage, into what you're doing? Do you have any advice? So, Aser, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. Happy to be here.
It's nice to be here, yeah?
It feels amazing, honestly.
Yeah, so I want to get straight into it, yeah? So, can you introduce yourself, tell us a bit about your background and your journey this far?
Definitely. So right now, we're here in Nairobi, and the journey to get here has been, I was just thinking about it on the way here. It's been a long and windy road, and it started a little over a year ago in Canada. So I've always been passionate about Africa, investing in the continent, uplifting the continent, creating opportunities, and it had stayed at that state for a while. So I remember when I was still in school, I went to the Harvard Africa Business Conference. This was a time where it was a conference about Africa investments, and Africa Forward was, I think, the theme. And from then until, I can say, maybe 2 years, a year and a half ago, it really wasn't in an idea stage. And then last year I decided to do this full time, to really pursue this dream, to really make it happen. And I can go into the details. I spent 5 months in New York working on the idea, and it culminated on a business trip to Kenya. So I've been here 2 months, and it's been a very, very interesting and very active 2 months. So that's the long story short. But the emotional, physical, spiritual journey has been quite full.
So you initially came to Kenya and Ethiopia on a trade mission, yeah? Can you tell us a bit about that?
For sure. So it's actually something that I'm very proud of, very happy of, because it was a first of its kind. I don't think it's ever happened where the African diaspora organized in this manner to really come back home and to come back home with a purpose and mission in an organized fashion that really created waves. So it was with an organization called the Afro-Descendant Leadership Alliance, which is an organization, a collective in Canada of emerging Black leaders, really brought together on a singular mission, which is to create wealth and to give back to the community. So I've been a part of this group called the Black Wealth Club, which is under this organization for over 2 years now. And the story of how this trip came together is actually quite fascinating, because I went to New York to work on Deyabo Capital, which is my investment firm. And New York is obviously the financial capital of the world, the Big Apple. They say if you make it here, you can make it anywhere. So I decided to go there to work with a business partner of mine who lived and lives in New York. And we went to go collaborate, work together. And in the midst of my time there, the folks at the Afro-Descendant Leadership Alliance were talking about this inaugural business trip called the Back to the Roots trip. And it was, it's sometimes serendipity, the way things work out is quite fascinating because, so I had just moved to New York and I was in an angel investor program that this Afro Descendant Leadership Alliance runs. So it teaches you how to be an angel investor, what the process is. And it was connecting us with a few founders and also a few investors of African descent in New York and elsewhere in Canada. So I'm there. I'm just getting settled. It's the Big Apple. I had my studio apartment in Brooklyn, and the folks at the Afro Descendant Leadership Alliance were saying, we want to run this trip to the continent to do a trade mission. I'm like, very interesting. I'm trying to do a business on the continent, and at the time I was already honed in on Kenya. I had done some analysis. I'm like, Kenya's probably, and then they say, and for the first year we're gonna go to Kenya. And I said, oh my God, this is...
So by that time, had you planned to come to Kenya, or did it push you to decide, okay, now I'm going to Kenya?
So I knew I needed to come to Kenya at some point because that's where the investment focus is. That's where the real focus of the firm is. But it was still early on in the process where I was just getting settled in my new surrounding, and it kind of just fell in my lap and it worked out nicely. So I decided to help organize the trade mission. So I was working with a team, and it was a really strong group of people that were like-minded. I think that's very important whenever you're working on any project, to really work with people that are like-minded. And we started planning it, started getting on call, speaking to people from the full range of the ecosystem. We were talking to, education providers, schools. We were talking to investment banks and financial institutions. We were talking to NGOs. We were talking to tech startups. We were talking to accelerators. And I found myself in the process really understanding the space, really understanding the market, really understanding the full ecosystem, and come into it with kind of a full perspective.
So what was your mindset when you were leaving Canada, and what were your expectations, and did you realize?
It's a good question. You know what? This process has been very iterative. And it was iterative based on the various conversations that I've had. So one thing about me is I've always been a people person. I've always loved people. I've always interacting with people.
Me too.
Yeah. See, it's energizing being around this type of different perspectives, and I've also always been curious. So anytime I interact with somebody, I'm always asking them questions and trying to extract as much information and knowledge from them. So what I'm saying this to say is, before I came here, I was already speaking with experts that were here. Either they were Kenyans who had done business in the past. Maybe it succeeded, maybe it didn't succeed. And in those conversations, it's like an emotional roller coaster, you can say. Like, there are some conversations that give you so much more energy and hope. You're like, okay, like, you can approach it this way, you can do it this way. And then there are other conversations where they are more, some might say realistic, some might say pessimistic. Understanding the context is very important. You can't just come in as an outsider and think that you know everything, or implant solutions from a different context that might not work in this context. So I was already preparing myself mentally to really come to Kenya as a student.
Okay.
Really to learn.
Okay.
To really humble myself in the process and not approach it with a fixed mind. So I had came. So there were two things that were fixed when I had come. One, I knew I wanted to do business in Kenya. That one was
for sure.
That one was for sure, because I had already studied the other countries in the market, in the region. I had already seen the underlying principles. One, the fundamentals were already strong. There was strong, private market. There's an educated workforce. English is a very well-spoken language. So there's already a lot of things that I'm like, okay, Kenya's it. But industry, where am I going to focus? I'm going to come in as entrepreneurship through acquisition, which means I'm going to acquire a company. So what am I going to acquire? And there's so many.
Types of companies.
So that was one of those things that needed to be more flexible and like understand a little bit more of the research.
What did you understand in that scope? What companies did you understand you can invest in? And yeah.
You know, this ties back a little bit to the mission and the purpose of the firm, because what started me on this journey was this goal to uplift the continent, to uplift Africa and Africans, provide jobs, create opportunities, actually create real impact. So that was the mission. So if that's the mission, then that means that everything needs to be aligned with that mission. So I was looking at a wide variety of sectors. I was looking at manufacturing. I was looking at agro-processing, agriculture. I was looking at healthcare. I was looking at services. I was looking at, you know, kind of this wide spectrum. So when I really thought about, okay, what's going to create lasting impact and also provide returns, because investors, whether we like it or not, are focused on returns.
Yeah.
So when I looked at all this, and then I came here and I saw what is the need. Now we know that Africa has a growing population.
Yeah.
And for a lot of places in the continent, including Kenya, healthcare is a big challenge. Healthcare is a big challenge, and healthcare is a essential. You know, during COVID time, you know, essential workers, essential thing.
Yeah.
There's nothing more essential than healthcare.
Yeah.
So, the more I spent time here, the more I started studying the market, the more I realized, okay, healthcare is where I want to be. Healthcare is where the opportunities are. Healthcare is where the need is, and also healthcare there is good returns in healthcare. So I then honed in on healthcare. Yeah.
Okay. So, what have you been working on so far in Kenya through your time for the past 2 months?
You know, the one thing that I love about entrepreneurship is the creativity that it requires, and the multifaceted nature of the work. So when you ask me what have I been doing in Kenya, I've been doing so many diverse things that culminate onto one thing, which is really business development. So building something from the ground up in a new market, and that is a really fascinating thing, because it really comes. You have to you know the principle. You have to understand something very well in order to teach it to somebody else.
Yeah.
So one thing that this process has taught me is to understand the full picture in order to build something from scratch. So what does this mean? One is the core of any business, especially in financial services, especially in private equity, is relationship management and relationship building.
Yeah.
So the first principle that I believe in is that nothing is built alone. That means you need strong partners, and you need a lot of collaboration and cooperation. So that means, in order to focus on the healthcare space, I really need to understand it from the full picture, which means from the regulatory side, from the customer side, from the provider side, from the insurer side. So really building these relationships to have a solid foundation to build on, because I think that's one challenge that a lot of businesses, private equity firms face, especially when operating in emerging markets, is they don't have a strong relationship and foundation base to build off of. Because, you know, there's a difference when you're building for the short term and when you're building for the long term.
Yeah.
And the focus on detail, the attention to the small things that in the long run add up. So the first is relationship building. The second is understanding the niche that we want to operate at, because one thing in emerging markets is there's a lot of challenges when operating in one specific thing, where there might be, you know, an issue in the value chain, and you have to figure out a way to either vertically integrate or find some type of solution, or you know, there's a lot of these kind of hiccups that you need. So if you want to invest somewhere, you need to invest smart and you need to invest big.
Yeah.
So understanding, okay, healthcare is pretty broad. Where exactly in healthcare are we best equipped and best positioned to play? Where do we have expert advisors that can help us come in and also grow and create efficiencies and bring in best practices and bring in know-how and bring in the latest technology to serve Kenyans? Like it can't just be a money play. Like what value are you providing to people?
Yeah.
And what inherent kind of style or touch are you gonna bring to it? So a lot of time has been spent in this area, which is working with doctors and health professionals in Canada and in the West to see how they can also contribute and come into the space and really bring it to the world class level. Because I think why don't Africans deserve the world class standard? You know what I mean? Like I think so. If you're not, I believe if I'm not coming into it with this mentality of excellence, then you're not. How are you gonna reach it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's been also again network and then building in the niche and really the investment thesis and the space and the strategy of where we're gonna play. And the other thing is really the marketing and the style and the feel of the firm. I think, especially in finance, even in other corporate and professional settings, there is less attention given to the community aspect of it, to the brand aspect of it, to the kind of the more intangible, the culture aspect of it that I think is not really paid attention to. So the other thing that I'm excited about, which is really our Diabo Investment Summit, which we're currently planning. So
Okay.
yeah, yeah. I'm really excited, to be honest.
When is that?
It's gonna be in the summer, and what can I say? I feel. I'll describe it this way. I think. So in traditional private equity investment companies, there's that annual shareholder meeting, right? I'm sure when I say this, people have a certain mind or certain thought in their mind of what this meeting is. Yeah. Another aggregation of the corporate achievements, the year in review, so on and so forth. Now, one thing that is going to make the Diabo Investment Summit different is, again, what is the mission of this firm? Diabo means to ascend. So it literally means to ascend. So if we're focused on ascension, if we're focused on uplifting people and also creating this kind of opportunity and impact, our annual meeting or our shareholder meeting or our summit needs to kind of exhibit these values. So I'm excited because now it's in the name. It's an investment summit. So I think people, especially nowadays where inflation is very high, it's crazy, living just day-to-day life is getting even more and more challenging. People are focused on financial ascension or financial investment. You have to make sure that your pocket is right, or you have to make sure that your finances are in order. So, but the issue is people don't have the tools, people don't have the information, people don't have the understanding to make these steps to actually make improvement in their life. And one thing that I have learned is, so in my previous life, I was an investment banker, and I was working on these billion-dollar transactions. I was probably one of the highest paid people out of university. I came into, you can say I came into the game with a certain with a certain financial base, and I've seen people at the wide spectrum of income levels have very poor money management skills and habits, poor health habits, poor mental habits, poor physical habits. And then it made me realize, okay, I think knowledge and information is very important here. So I wanted to make this investment summit a holistic look at investing in yourself, investing in your finances in the stock market, investing in your healthcare and your self-care, investing in your mental wealth. By the way, this is something that came to me. It's like, yeah, mental health. This discussion about mental health is really prevalent right now, and it's very important. But mental health is also your mental wealth, because if you don't have stable emotional state, stable mental state, you can't really do anything productive. So investing in your mental wealth, and also investing in your community. I think there's this sad perception in my view of a solitary focus on finances. And I don't know if this is because people are in scarcity and in survival mode, where they're just talking about, like, I just need to get to the bag, I just need to get money, I just need to, this is the focus. Yeah. But it's really sad, because when you are out of this survival state, you realize that money is actually it's like a very singular focus. It's a very one-dimensional way of being. There's relationships, there's community, there's giving back to the less fortunate, and supporting and uplifting others, because there's so much satisfaction that you get from helping people. And I know so many things, once I started becoming an entrepreneur, came into focus. And I'll tell you what I mean by this, and I'll come back to the point. There used to be these phrases that people said, on podcasts, on TV, or even like old heads or old people that tell you, they sit you down and they give you like a cliche, one of these taglines, like health is wealth, or your network is your net worth, or what's another one of these ones? They're like, it's important to give back, or these things that you hear it, but it kind of comes in one ear and out the other, and you're like, yeah, okay, whatever. But I can tell you that there is so much satisfaction that I've gotten in my life from being involved with my community and supporting my community and working with my community and helping and assisting and doing humanitarian work. I think that's one constant in my life, where I can give you an example. So when I was growing up, I used to volunteer every Saturday teaching young kids about their cultural dances, languages, and kind of this kid, especially to kids that were, you can say, between like 5 to like 16. And most of these kids were coming from a background where they were adopted, and they kind of had this disconnection from their culture, or they were East African, but they might have been, their parents are super busy, they're working like 2-3 jobs to make ends meet, and they're kind of at home, or they're kind of out in the world and kind of disconnected, and they know that they have a heritage and a culture that's unique and valuable, but they don't know what it is. They don't speak it, they don't feel it. So I spent a lot of time working with these kids, and I used to teach them, and we used to do performances and a bunch of other things, and it was so much fun. It was a lot of work, but it was so much fun. And then nowadays I'm like running into these kids that I taught, who are now like going to university and working in all these other places, and they, when they tell me about the value that it brought them, or the connection that it gave them, or whatever benefit that they derive from it, it's a genuinely a good feeling that you can't replicate, you can't buy, you can't replace. And this theme has kind of been repeated in my life in so many other ways, that it's I wish more people understood the value of the investment that you're putting in. So that's another thing that I really want to highlight in this investment summit, is building a full life in that sense. You know what I mean? I don't think people should look at wealth in like one narrow way, which is just money, like, because the reason that I find that so kind of short-sighted is, you look at the people who made money quick, so entertainers or like tech billionaires, and you see their life and you see how they're living, and they're not necessarily happy, right? I think that's one thing that I really like about this young generation, is that we're focused on the full picture, but also understanding with the understanding of how systems and the world actually works right now. So I think that is why I think we should try to be a bridge to this new reality.
Interesting. Because I also think the focus on money is based on a sense of security. For the first time, when you don't have enough around you, you need a sense of security. But I get that if you move to the next level, then I think the community is the next place to invest into. So your resources, it's good to distribute your resources to people around you so that you can grow together. So as you were saying about growing as a team. Yeah. So yeah.
I really like what you said, and that's exactly why our corporate slogan is ascend together. Because again, you can't build alone, and I also don't think you should eat alone because it doesn't taste as good. So that's exactly the principle.
Yeah. Anyway, what has your experience been like in Kenya so far?
You know what's so surprising is, especially when you're coming from the West, you have a perception of Africa in like one
Dimension.
One dimension. And I've been pleasantly surprised at how Kenya has shown me that it's very multidimensional in the sense that I was mentioning this earlier. One, it's a very metropolitan and also cosmopolitan city where English is, I honestly haven't had any challenges communicating with anybody. And this has been a quite nice surprise. The other thing is how modern Nairobi is as a city in terms of connectivity, convenience. I can Uber everywhere. I can order food into my place. I can order groceries. I can shop online. I can watch Netflix and enjoy really fast internet and uninterrupted power and water. These are things that I can speak from so I was actually born in Ethiopia.
Yeah.
So I've also spent a lot of time in Ethiopia, and I can tell you, running water and power is not a given in everywhere. So that part has been really, really nice about Nairobi. The other thing is, it's encouraging meeting very smart young people, people that are building for themselves. They're not waiting for a handout. They're not waiting for somebody to give them the opportunity. They're just going and they have this. Okay, how are we gonna make do with this? We're gonna find a way to kind of make the best of the situation that we're at, which is really a good mindset to have. So I think there is a willingness to really grow and learn and kind of improve. And then the weather has been beautiful.
But if you're comparing it to Canada, it's
Yes.
quite nice because Canada is quite cold, yeah.
It was freezing, especially this winter. And I have family and friends that were sending me videos, crying like, where you're still in Africa, huh? And they're like, yeah, so you've gotten really comfortable. So I can't complain, honestly, and I see a lot of potential. I really do see a lot of potential.
And you went to Diani. How's your experience there?
Diani was beautiful. I was riding jet skis, riding camels, at a nice resort. It was a vibe. I'm pleased with how also, again, like Kenya has coast, it has mountains, it has, so Diani was a nice it was the end of our business trade mission, so it was a nice relaxation, a way to unwind before the rest of the group left, and it was, yeah, I can say it was that was the first time I've ever rode a jet ski, and it was it was a nice surprise to do it in Diani. It was yeah, it was a good time.
So far in your journey, in your time in Kenya, are there challenges you faced, and how did you overcome your challenges?
Oof. I think there's a lot of challenges. The first is really the battle within myself, because I'm in a new city, in a new country, actually in a different continent, trying to do a new business, to craft a new strategy that has not been done. Like the approach that we're taking is very unique, because we're looking at it from, again, that perspective that I told you, which is like responding to what the problems here are and not just imposing kind of a solution.
Yeah.
So the first and the biggest challenge is really self-regulating my own kind of challenges, uncertainties, you can say, with this idea, because anytime I've hit a roadblock, it's on me. There's nobody else to blame.
Yeah.
There's nobody else to look to. It's really something that is within my control, which is good and bad, which means that it's also me that can solve it. So again, it comes back to this time. Really, I've actually spent a lot of time in isolation by myself, really working through problems and try to be as methodical in terms of my timing and my strategy and my planning, which can be really hard in the sense that the road is lonely, and not everybody's gonna see your vision because they don't have your perspective.
Yeah.
They don't have your information. They don't have your talent and your skill set as well, right? So in that sense, it's anytime I've hit a roadblock, it's really been me sitting with it and massaging it and kind of trying to see where the best alternatives are. Because again, even we were speaking earlier about how I honed in on healthcare as a sector, and how did I honed in on my strategy within healthcare. That was a lot of this massaging and understanding, and I think a lot of people, there's a phrase in Tigrinya. They say, I think nagaray terftray nagarani timakaray nagarani, which means like the entrepreneur only told me about the profits. He didn't tell me about the hardship. He didn't tell me about them hard days, them cold nights, them sleepless nights. Because there have been sleepless nights. You can't just manifest a dream. You have to manufacture a dream.
Yeah.
So in that sense, I think that's also another reason why community is important. Support system is important. Understanding and building a good routine for yourself is important, because you can will your way into a certain, you can will your way so far, but systems and support is what's really gonna help you transcend into the next level.
Yeah.
So I can take the example of working out. You can work out by yourself without any information and know-how. You can just go there and go on that treadmill, on that Stairmaster for 20 minutes, 1 hour.
Yeah.
But if you don't have the expertise and the knowledge, if you don't have a personal trainer telling you, okay, you need to work on these muscle groups, if you don't have a strong diet that replenishes and fuels you, then you like, what's that willpower really? How far is that gonna get you? Yeah.
Not so far. Yeah. So are there any investment opportunities that you've realized in the country, and how you're approaching them?
There are a lot. And the beautiful thing about being on the ground is I've had a chance to really meet, visit, and interact with these really innovative companies. And it's so surprising, and this is one of the things that surprises you. It's like when you're in alignment, things kind of just fall into place when you meet them. So I'll give you an example. So I met maybe a couple of companies through referrals, maybe friends of friends, or I tell people my pitch. This is Deyabo Capital. This is the investments that we're looking for. This is our approach, and they say, oh, you know what? I know a really good company within the agro processing space that I want you to go and meet with. And then I went and met with them, and they have a really like a really solid product, and then you get to see and visualize, okay, wow, like with the right marketing, with the right story, with the right kind of push, this could go, this product could sell really well in North America, or it can sell really well in Europe and be a huge export market from Kenya. Then there's other opportunities that I've met with through conferences. So I've attended, outside of the Back to the Roots trade mission, I've attended conferences in Kenya. So the largest one, which is called Sankalp, is the largest congregation of entrepreneurs and impact-focused investors on the continent. So again, this is why relationships are important. A friend of mine that I met here through the trade mission was really supportive, and she's like, you know what, I'm attending this conference. You should come. It's an investment. You can come and maybe interact with some people. I go there and then I attended so many useful healthcare panels about healthcare, primary care in Kenya, that not only refined my understanding of the space, but also interacted me with two companies in the space that I'm looking at. And it kind of just snowballs conversations organically. And then there are the serendipitous moments. So there's these chance meetings that, so I went into a clinic for some type of treatment, okay? And then, because I told you earlier, I'm curious, I'm always trying to learn from people, I'm always trying to interact, and just that's my natural personality, that's my natural state. So I start this conversation, and I come to find out that this doctor that I'm interacting with is aligned in so many ways with the businesses that I'm looking at. So when you telling me, have you met interesting businesses? Yes. Yes, and I'm very excited by the opportunities that we have to collaborate and work together and really push these businesses to the next level. So I am very grateful and happy with the kind of opportunities that I've really met, uncovered, and also for the many more that I hopefully will encounter.
What lessons have you learned through this journey, and how has it shaped or changed your perspective?
So Austin, I told you the biggest challenge is the battle within oneself, right? So I think one thing that has shaped my thinking in that space is really almost radical accountability. For instance, like, yes, partnership is two ways. Yes, dialogue is two ways. Yes, even problems and beef is two parties, right? But I think and this is kind of, the older I'm getting, the more I'm using this approach, which is really to ask and reflect and say, okay, what could I have done better? What is the shortcomings that I'm having? You can even take it very, very simply. I'll give you an example. So before, when I let's say when I was in university, I used to wonder, like, you meet somebody, maybe you meet them in a social setting, maybe you meet them in a professional setting. You shake hands, you say hello, my name is Aser, my name is Austin, and then you see them on the street, or you see them in a different context, and they don't make eye contact with you, or they don't acknowledge you, or you're like, why is this person doing this? Like, why are they acting like weird and uppity? And then I realized that I did that to somebody that I had met, and it was like so subconscious that it was just like, okay, maybe I'm just in a rush, or maybe I don't have anything positive to say to the person, so I'm just gonna avoid it, or maybe it was like, there's something that maybe I need to follow up with them, or maybe there was a text that they sent and I didn't follow up yet, and I'm like, let me follow up with the text first before. But then that made me realize, okay, so we are people and people are us. Yeah. So that kind of gave me this perspective of really trying to control me as much as I can. Mm-hmm. So let's say I see you on the street and I'm dodging one of your messages. I should still acknowledge you. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I've tried to apply this reasoning, this logic, kind of throughout my partnerships that I've had. So even if there's a business case that, let's say, we're not aligned, I think it's best to really hold myself to the highest standard possible, to really kind of live the words that I practice or that I preach. Yeah.
Okay. And what are you looking forward to in the coming days? What are you looking forward to achieve in your journey with Diabo? What are you looking forward to?
You know, I'm really looking forward to going back to Canada and planning and organizing and executing this investment summit and pushing the business to the next stage. I think each destination or each place that I've been at has pushed me forward in some way, whether it was my time in New York, refining the investment pitch and working with partners and investors and pitching the idea and making sure that it's a solid one, and then coming to Kenya and building these relationships and uncovering and finding these business investment opportunities. And now going back to Canada, I'm sure this is going to unlock a whole nother level of, you know, helping the brand, the company, and the community grow. Because I think Africa, again, has all of these resources, has the people, has everything, but it needs capacity, know-how, and capital. So, and if I want to build here, I need to bridge these gaps. So that's what I'm excited for, to go back, bridge the gaps, and also see how far and how vast this Diabo community, this Diabo ecosystem, this Diabo investment firm can grow. I think I'm really excited by the opportunities.
Okay. Do you have any advice for, let's say, anyone who's getting into the entrepreneurship stage, into what you're doing? Do you have any advice?
I think building anything requires belief in the thing that you're building and also in yourself. The good thing about building today is that information and knowledge is available. Now, there's good information, there's bad information, and there's also so much information that it can be overwhelming. So I think the best place to start is, okay, you need to be in alignment, you know, find whatever niche, whatever you want to focus on. That's very important. But then but then the question then becomes, you need to become the person who's able to run this effectively. That means you have to upskill yourself. You have to upskill yourself technically, whatever the space that it is. If it's videography, if it's editing, if it's the creative space, if it's, you know, graphic design, if it's music, like, use whatever information tools are available to upskill yourself technically. Then the question then becomes, I mentioned that there's a lot of these lonely nights, these difficult moments, these sleepless nights. So in those moments, you have to be able to withstand that kind of shock, because, you know, there's, again, another one of these cliche sayings, you know, it's darkest before dawn, or it's, you know, right before you make a breakthrough, that's where you're about to give up, you know, all these sayings. But in my experience, that's exactly how I found it. So you need to be mentally resilient enough to kind of overcome these challenges. So that means you need to, again, work on your mental wealth. Like, mental health is important, and also your community is important. I think, you know, even I feel like in society, like, the prominence and importance of friendship is being lost. Like, you know, like, they say, like, fuck everybody else, like, just focus on the bag, or, you know, it doesn't matter if they're not with you, in here, like, forget them.
Yeah.
But, like, you need to have a solid foundation, whether it's your family, whether it's your friends, to kind of uplift you, kind of breathe life into you, you know. And when I told my friends and family, I'm going to start my own investment firm, I'm going to do private equity, I'm going to go to Kenya and start this, they could have said, are you crazy? What gives you the audacity? What gives you the goal? What gives you this this ability to think so big and so wide and dream so far, but they didn't. They said, you know what, we believe in you. We're gonna support you. Anytime you share something, we're gonna be there. Anytime you have an event, we'll attend. Anytime you need words of encouragement, we'll be there. Like that is, I think, something that is necessary in this journey. So invest. You gotta invest in your relationships, and then lastly is you have to set yourself up for success. If you, for instance, this journey has been a year and something in the making, and this entire time it's been self-funded. So that means I needed to put myself in a position to be able to strive and do this. So whether if you need to take a job or a part-time job or a remote job to fulfill your dreams, that's one way. Or you want to grind for a few years and save up in order to be able to reach and to strive, that's another way. Or whether you have partners and investors that are willing and able to support you, that's another way. But you need to go forth with a plan, a concrete plan, not just vibes and which maybe listen. I'm not gonna tell people don't do something, especially if it's not me that's gonna do it. What gives me the, but I that's not one way that I would do it.
Hey, it's been nice talking to you. Yeah.
It's been a pleasure, honestly. I feel like I'm excited for this next journey, and with regardless whatever you do, I think it's important to own your own narrative, to tell your story, and most importantly, to act and walk the talk, because everything it needs to be of substance, and that's why I'm super excited for Diabo, because this entire journey has kept me on the same path. And every time I'm acting, the path gets clearer. Every time, every time there's any uncertainty, you do, and then it gets clarified. So yes, it's scary to build whatever you're building. Yes, there's a lot of unknowns, but you have to have faith. Honestly, I think for me, my spirituality, my faith, my religion, my connection with God has been really profound and has helped me through. So I'm encouraged. I wish everybody well in their ascension journey, and come join Diabo. Let's ascend together.